Radhe Radhe. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. May this be an offering to Sri Radha Krishna. And welcome. The book that we're reading is Roar of the Ganges. Ganges is a river in India. The Sanskrit name is the Ganga. And it's a very spiritually revered river. It is seen as a goddess of knowledge and liberation. It is written by a Swami, a spiritual renunciant, named Tadatmananda. And he is the guru of one of our audience members, like yourself, who has decided to share his guru's book with us for our own benefit and for the support of his own guru. And it's a wonderful book so far. It takes place from the perspective of his guru, who was then known as Mark, before he took sannyas and became a Swami, renouncing his past name and everything. This chapter is called Exploring New Tracks. Tuesday, March 14th. Peter, a friend from New York City, had long ago traversed the spiritual path similar to mine. He traveled to India while still in his teens and was later initiated into monastic life by a disciple of Swami Sivananda. For more than 15 years, Peter lived as a sannyasi, teaching yoga and Vedanta in Divine Life Society centers in the US and India. But as he approached midlife, his feelings began to change. The spiritual lifestyle that had nurtured him became confining, like a child's outgrown clothes. Instead of providing a rich medium for personal growth, it now seemed to stifle further progress. As a result, he eventually gave up monastic life and moved to New York, where he enrolled in Columbia University's South Asian Studies program. Peter, then known as Swami Gangadhara, lived for a while in the Sivananda ashram, the same ashram where Swami Prakash, previously mentioned character and friend of Mark, had previously stayed. Though the two had never met, at the time Peter came to know Swami Brahmananda, an elderly monk who had lived and taught there for decades. The Swami's Vedanta classes inspired Peter so much that he insisted I meet Swami Brahmananda the next time I came to Rishikesh. I was delighted. Therefore, when Swami Prakash asked me to accompany him to the Sivananda ashram, a few of his friends still lived there, and he frequently went to visit them. After lunch, we walked down the narrow lane to the main road where Swami Prakash flagged down an auto rickshaw. The young driver smiled as we climbed in. His white teeth gleamed in contrast with his dark skin and drab clothes. In a flash, we were careening along the road choked with bicycles, three-wheelers, townsfolk, and barefoot pilgrims carrying huge bedrolls on their heads. An occasional truck or bus sent everyone scrambling for safety. Our brief ride strangely reminded me of riding bumper cars in an amusement park. The gate of the Sivananda ashram is about 2 miles up the Badrinath road, near the terminus of the Ram Jhula bridge that goes over the Ganges. Its sprawling campus climbs a wooded slope above the road, looking upstream from the Swami Dayananda ashram. where Mark is staying. Its buildings look like huge yellow blocks carelessly scattered over the hillside. Entering the gate, we were greeted not by an ashram resident, but by a pack of monkeys. Swami Prakash told me they often come here to seek handouts of food and had grown quite bold in their pursuit. They knew that women are easier to frighten than men and had learned to pull on women's saris to scare them into dropping their packages. Anyone carrying fruit to offer at the ashram's temple had better be prepared to fend off this mob of simian bandits. We walked past a larger prayer hall where Swami Sivananda used to hold satsang sessions. Swami Prakash led me to the temple to pay our respects at the crypt where the Swami's remains had been interred after his life of service came to an end in 1963. Hindus generally cremate their dead, believing that burning the body sets the soul free to travel to its next life. But for Swamis, cremation is deemed unnecessary. Their enlightened souls have presumably broken free from the cycle of rebirth to merge with God. So instead of being cremated, a Swami's body is usually cast into a body of water or buried. As Swami Prakash explained, tongue-in-cheek, so you don't have to waste money on buying firewood to cremate the bodies. Swami Sivananda's crypt had become a place of worship. A shrine to Lord Shiva was installed there, along with a larger-than-life statue of the Swami gazing kindly upon all worshippers. Venerated spiritual leaders in India are often deified by their followers after their passing. Much as sainthood has been conferred upon certain exalted members of the Roman Catholic Church, for example. After prostrating before the shrine, we left the temple and walked up a nearby flight of stairs to the print shop where a friend of Swami Prakash was waiting for us. Swami Nityananda was an intelligent, energetic man in his 30s who could easily have been mistaken for a well-groomed college professor if he was not wearing an orange dhoti. He was responsible for overseeing all the publishing activities at the ashram, a sizable job indeed. Swami Nityananda gave us a tour of the print shop, where modern offset presses, ancient linotypes, and various folding, cutting, and binding machines clattered noisily. These machines were operated by a well-trained staff of ashram residents who produced hundreds of publications each year. We were escorted into a special air-conditioned room filled with the latest in desktop publishing equipment. I had never imagined seeing such powerful computers, laser printers, and color scanners in an ashram in the Himalayan foothills. After our tour, Swami Nityananda led us to another building where a cavernous library housed tens of thousands of books in Sanskrit, Hindi, and English. I browsed the well-organized card catalog under the watchful eye of the librarian, an elderly female Swami who carefully observed all that transpired in her domain. Her diminutive orange form, seated at a massive desk piled high with books, led me to imagine her as a crowned queen, seated upon her throne, ruling over her majestic library or literary kingdom with wisdom and firmness. Swami Nityananda ushered us out of the library and across the courtyard to his small, cluttered room. We made ourselves comfortable as he assembled a modest feast almond cookies and instant coffee. While we snacked, Swami Prakash asked him about some mutual friends who no longer lived at the ashram. Afterwards, I asked our host to tell me about Swami Sivananda and how this ashram was established. Swami Sivananda was originally trained in South India as a doctor. He practiced medicine in Malaysia for over a decade. When he treated his patients, he saw how they suffered not only physically, but also spiritually. He saw an emptiness in their lives that he could never cure by making them physically well. He gradually became filled with a burning desire to serve people spiritually. Finally, he gave up his medical practice and came to Rishikesh in 1925 to become a sannyasi. He began providing free medical care to all the sadhus living in the area. He founded this ashram in 1936, and before long, people started to come here from all over the world. Swami Sivananda felt that Hindus had fallen away from spiritual ideals, so he taught them to integrate spiritual practice into their daily lives. He wrote hundreds of books on Vedanta and yoga. He also established the Divine Life Society, which runs this ashram and has centers all over the world. Swami Prakash had studied at a Divine Life Society center in his hometown before coming to Rishikesh. I asked Swami Nityananda to describe the classes taught for ashram residents. He replied with a warm smile, "We try our best to follow Swami Sivananda's teachings. Serve, meditate, love. All of us perform karma yoga, which we call selfless service. Some residents work here in the ashram, helping to support the activities of the Divine Life Society. Others do charitable work in the community, like helping at the medical clinic nearby. When a terrible earthquake hit Uttarkashi a few years ago, many ashram residents went there to help. We usually work from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., longer if the job requires, and the remainder of our time is free for prayer, meditation, spiritual reading, and relaxation." "How do you spend your days?" I asked. "Running the publishing department is an extremely big responsibility, so I spend most of my time working." "Do you still have much time for meditation and study?" "Not too much," he replied, "but I consider my work to be my main spiritual practice. Working with an attitude of selfless service is a form of prayer." He said the yoga class conducted each morning is attended by only a few residents, but more come for satsang held most evenings. I remarked, "I'm surprised there is not more emphasis here on formal spiritual study." Swami Nityananda explained, "Swami Sivananda thought that for most people, karma yoga is the best spiritual practice." "But," I persisted, "some study with a proper teacher is also necessary, is it not?" "That may be true," he replied, "but Swami Sivananda chose not to emphasize it. Some of our residents who want traditional studies go to the Kailash ashram, which we heard about earlier, yesterday, the day before, each day to attend classes." Swami Prakash then added, "Residents here are free to study as they like. When I arrived here, I went to the Swami Dayananda ashram every day for classes." I hoped Swami Nityananda did not interpret my comments as being critical of the Divine Life Society, to which he was so dedicated. To my relief, he didn't appear to take any offense. After an hour of Swami gossip, as he characterized it, Swami Prakash announced that it was time to leave. He had to return to our ashram and prepare for his afternoon chanting class. We thanked Swami Nityananda for his hospitality and bade him farewell. Walking across the courtyard towards the gate, I asked Swami Prakash, why do some teachers like Swami Sivananda de-emphasize scriptural study? He explained, often, scriptures are not taught properly. They are sometimes taught in an extremely theoretical and abstract manner, or they can be made to seem so mysterious and lofty that students have no hope of gaining clarity. When scriptures are taught like that, perhaps meditation and selfless service are better than study. But when the scriptures are properly unfolded with traditional methodology, they can lead students to discover truth, to discover Atma. That is the goal of scriptural study, isn't it? When we reached the gate, I mentioned Peter's suggestion that I meet Swami Brahmananda. Swami Prakash thought I would indeed enjoy the visit and encouraged me to remain behind. He told me to inquire at the ashram's office to arrange a meeting. Then he climbed into a waiting auto rickshaw and sped down the road, trailed by a cloud of black smoke belched by the rickety three-wheeler. And let's pause our reading there for now. Another great excerpt on Mark's journey through various ashrams in Rishikesh. Previously, he had visited another ashram which focused heavily on traditional scriptural study. But this one is like the mutual opposite, where practically no one is studying scriptures, and instead they engage in karma yoga as their main duty. Goes to show that there is not one method for spiritual learning, but many which lead to the same goal. And thank you for listening with me. And hello AJ, hello Annabelle.